Good evening and welcome to our news broadcast tonight. My name is Victor Muyakane and it's an absolute pleasure and honor to present this news to you. With me is Catherine Simaloy on sign language tonight. Now, we would like to show you a glimpse of what we have in store for you, and for that, here are the highlights. The High Court rejects an application by former DP Rigathi Gachagua to halt the proceedings of his impeachment case while his appeal is being heard and determined.
What then would be the essence of Rule 52B of the Court of Appeal Rules and Order 42, Rule 6 of the Civil Procedure Rules? Accordingly, for these reasons, this prayer is declined.
And the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has expressed alarm over the increasing prevalence of divisive and inflammatory language.
We are alarmed by the surge of deeply divisive theatrics which verge on hate speech.
The High Court has dismissed an application submitted by Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja and the Director of Criminal Investigations Mohammed Amin, who were attempting to contest being served a court order requiring their appearance.
It will not be in public interest to allow the application. Allowing the application will also negate the essence of the conservatory orders granted and the effectiveness of habeas corpus as a constitutional remedy.
Our news coverage begins now. A section of Lake Nakuru National Park was engulfed in flames, set alight by protesters angry over the mysterious disappearance of Brian Odhiambo. Odhiambo, a local fisherman, was reportedly arrested by KWS officers on Saturday, but has not been seen since. The demonstrations escalated, leading to the fire as well as fracas. Chichi Josephine has the details.
A section of Lake Nakuru National Park was set ablaze by angry protesters who are demonstrating over the disappearance of one Brian Odhiambo for the 5th day since he was last seen. The angry protesters overpowered anti-riot police officers who had been deployed to the area and stormed the Lake Nakuru National Park, while others blocked and lit bonfires on the roads demanding Odhiambo's release.
Tumeasha moto juu wameua kijana wetu mmoja ambaye alikuwa anajituma, anaitwa Brayo. Tumemtafuta, tumemkosa. Tunajaribu kuambia tupe mwili, wamekataa. Wamekataa, wameficha mwili na si mara ya kwanza.
Sisi tusipomuona pato tutachoma mpaka hiki mpaka ishe. Ishe yote kabisa. Tuate sisi tumechoka.
The situation intensified when protesters clashed with the police officers after engaging in running battles. This was followed by the deployment of tear gas, which led to at least 20 students from Kimathi Secondary School being rushed to the hospital for treatment.
Tear gas are all over. So many kids have fainted in school. I've just tried to help. Let me go back and help them.
How many have you brought?
I brought about 5 so far. Some have taken to Bondeni and some things are pathetic. Tear gas in school, I don't know what to do.
Meanwhile, police revealed that they have arrested 6 KWS officers linked to the disappearance of Brian Odhiambo at Lake Nakuru National Park last week as investigations continue.
Lazima watupatie mtoto. Wao watueleze what happened. Vile tumeambiwa kwamba kuna maaskari wameshikwa hapa na hawezi kubali kubeba mzigo ambao wanajua sio yao. Wasema ule ambaye alifanya kitendo ni nani?
The ongoing conflict over fishing rights at the Lake Nakuru has resulted in a series of deaths and disappearances. Leaders are now calling on KWS to provide answers regarding what has been happening in the park.
Lakini ile conflict tunapata kubwa, KWS hata wao wenyewe askari wao wanafanya a lot of fish business. Wako na maboats zao wanachukua na wanauza.
Bwana Oyugi, vunja kimya chako, Wakenya wanangojea uwaelezee Bwana Brian ako wapi. Utuelezee muliajiriwa kuwalinda wanyama ama muliajiriwa kuwa wanyama.
Chichi, Josephine, TV47.
Now, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has flagged over 10 members of parliament for alleged hate speech, much of it posted on social media platforms. Those named include Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, Dadab Member of Parliament Farah Maalim, and Webuye West Member of Parliament Dan Wanyama. The NCIC has forwarded their files to the DCI, calling for swift arrests of those pointed out. Sheila Chelangat tells us more.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has raised its alarm over what it says is a surge in deeply divisive rhetoric, which borders on hate speech and ethnic contempt, especially on social media, as well as public rallies in recent weeks.
These reckless utterances that we have witnessed in the recent past are not short of a call to war and have absolutely no place in Kenya.
Due to this, the Commission has red-listed over 10 members of Parliament for hate speech. Among those whose files have been forwarded to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI are Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, Dadab MP Farah Maalim, and Webuye West's Dan Wanyama.
Utterances such as us versus them, particularly from political class, continue to divide the country, and this must stop immediately.
NCIC also says there has been a significant rise in gang-related activities in the country, especially in Nairobi, Kiambu, Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nakuru counties.
These criminal organizations have been able to establish a strong presence in both urban and peri-urban areas, where their influence and operations have disrupted local communities, making everyday life dangerous.
The Commission has noted that the country is moving in the wrong direction just 2 years before the general election. Hence, its call for all Kenyans to exercise tolerance in both their actions and speech.
It behoves us as Kenyans to uphold and guard jealously the peace Kenyans have been enjoying over the past years.
Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Thank you, Sheila, for that. The Inspector General of Police and the DCI boss have been summoned to court in connection with the ongoing investigations into the disappearance of several people believed to have been abducted. These summons also come amid rising public concern over high-profile, unresolved cases. Samira Mohammed reports.
Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanjam and Directorate of Criminal Investigations boss Mohammed Amin have been dealt a blow after the High Court rejected their bid to stay orders, requiring them to personally appear in court over the disappearance of 3 young men in Mlolongo.
It will not be in public interest to allow the application. Allowing the application will also negate the essence of the conservatory orders granted and the effectiveness of habeas corpus as a constitutional remedy. The orders were intended to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution and enforce the Bill of Rights. For the above reasons, the application is declined and it's dismissed.
In a ruling delivered by Justice Chatamweta earlier today, the court dismissed the plea by the senior officers who had sought to delay their appearance in the ongoing case concerning the abduction of Justus Mutomwa, Martin Mwao, and Karani Mwema. The two filed an application saying they were not served with the orders and that the court condemned them unheard.
Service on all respondents was done by email. The affidavit of service listed the email addresses used to effect the service. The list of email addresses the list of emails appears in the order of the parties. The first and second respondents were served through the email nps@nationalpoliceservice.go.ke and the director at dci.go.ke respectively, which they have disputed.
However, Justice Mwita made it clear that both Kanja and Amen had been properly served with court orders to appear in court, rejecting their claims that the email addresses used to notify them were unverified. The court orders required them to produce in court the 3 missing men and also personally appear in court over the same.
In his view, the first respondent could not be served through the email belonging to the National Police Service. Though an attractive argument, it is not convincing. It is unconvincing. It is true that the National Police Service is established under Article 243, while Article 245 establishes the Office of the Inspector General of Police.
In his ruling, Justice Mwita had summoned the two to appear in court in person on January 30th at 11 a.m. and produced the 3 missing men in court, whether dead or alive.
The court issued an order that the petitioners be released or their bodies be presented to court.
Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
Now over to matters politics, where President William Ruto's tour of Western Kenya continues to capture national attention. While billed as a charm offensive to woo voters, it's also a strategic play to tighten his grip on power ahead of the 2027 elections, even as he sustains his attacks on his former deputy, Rigathi Gachagua. George Maringa tells us more.
In what many are calling a political masterstroke, President Ruto has been on a mission to reassure the people of Western Kenya that they will not be left out of his government's plans if the ongoing 6-day development tour of the Western region is anything to go by.
Leo hapa tunaanzisha mpango ya kuunganisha stima kwa watu 28,000 wapya. 28,000 households zitaunganishwa na stima, na tayari tumeweka pesa shilingi bilioni 2.5.
During the tour, Ruto's strategic move to include high-profile figures from the opposition is raising eyebrows. By bringing influential regional leaders and former rivals to his side, the president is sending a clear message. He is not only focused on his own allies, but is also building bridges across the political divide. And he has sustained a message to his former friends turned foes.
Let me say, for the avoidance of doubt, tunaelewana jameni? Those characters, the leaders, the characters who are incompetent, the people who are selfish, those who are driven by greed, those who are driven by tribalism, they have no space in the Republic of Kenya. The people of Kenya are united against selfishness. They are united against tribalism. They are united against sectarian politics. And that is why we are standing together.
Meanwhile, Ruto's former deputy Rigathi Gachagua has not held back, continuing to criticize the Kenya Kwanza administration's handling of key issues, including infrastructure and the economy. On that one, Ruto has not spared his words.
Na tukisema hivi, watu wasiseme tunaongea juu yako. It is only the guilty who are afraid. We are saying the incompetent, the selfish, the tribal have no place in Kenya.
As Gachagua continues to challenge Ruto's leadership, the president's tour is his chance to push back and consolidate his position. He is downplaying his former deputy's influence while painting a picture of a government committed to progress. In a powerful display of unity, Ruto's development tour has also featured former opposition leaders, many of whom had once been loyal to Raila Odinga. Prime CS Musalia Mudavadi on his part has called out Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka for questioning the source of the 150 million shillings bonuses issued to Ken farmers in Mumias on Monday.
Sasa, wewe mtu wa Nasewa, wewe mtu wa Busia, wewe mtu wa Kenya. Ikiwa sasa Tinga ameingia AUC na Mheshimiwa Ruto amebaki, ndio kwa sababu sisi tunasema tuone mbele, tuangalie mbele, tushikane na yeye. Si namna hiyo? Tusibahatishe tena.
As President Ruto continues his outreach across the country, one thing is clear. he is determined to defend his political turf, and his path to 2027 is being carved through both strategic alliances and direct confrontations. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, George. Now, news just in indicates that Chief Justice Martha Koome is accusing the government and specifically the Ministry of Interior of taking away her security detail, calling it an assault on both the judiciary and the Office of the Chief Justice. In a letter sent this evening on Thursday to Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen and Police IG Douglas Kanja, Koome expressed deep concern over the move. She says that the action undermines the judiciary's independence and endangers the safety of judicial officers nationwide. This is a story we're following up as it happens. This is actually a letter that's just been released not too long ago, and we're telling you just as and when we have it. We will follow up on that. But moving on, and still along the corridors of justice, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has criticized President Ruto's efforts to woo Mount Kenya voters ahead of the 2027 general elections. Gachagua dismissed Ruto's alleged divide and rule tactics, asserting that the region's support remains solid. His remarks come as the president is on a 5-day tour of the western region. Paul Kirobi tells us more.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has responded sharply to President William Ruto, who is currently on a charm offensive in the western region, aiming to strategize on how to gain support from the area. Gachagua referencing the president's recent move to appoint top government officials from the central region, taking a swipe at the head of state, informing him that it won't make a difference, as in fact he has already lost their support.
They have known that all those things he told us were not true, they were lies. And he cheated us and he conned us. So I want to tell the people of Western Kenya to be careful. We have seen that script before. What is happening is what happened to Mount Kenya region. So he is 6 days, 7 days in Western, promising this, promising that. Nothing will come out of it. And I would like to ask the president and those in Western Kenya, please deal with the issues in Western Kenya.
Referring to President Ruto's tour of the western region, Gachagua now claims that Ruto is dishonest and will not fulfill any promises he is making to the people there. The former second in command has also laughed off the president's development tour in the western part of the country, saying that largely he has been the focus of the tour, further adding that instead of this, Ruto should prioritize implementing development projects. Gachagua, who chose an unconventional method to speak to his followers, spoke during a live session on social media application TikTok, engaging with Kenyans both abroad and in the country. The statement comes just days after President Ruto referred to his former deputy as corrupt and incompetent. In a quick rejoinder, Gachagua accused the head of state of playing the victim. The former deputy president has been meeting with a number of elected leaders and youth representatives from across the country as he receives proposals on leadership and how to consolidate his support base. The exchange of accusations also comes as some leaders claim Mount Kenya is being sidelined. In the past 5 days, President Ruto has visited the 5 counties of Western, deploying government resources and engaging key figures from the region in what some have said could be a strategy to win over voters. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
A 3-judge bench of the High Court has dealt a blow to former DP Rigathi Gachagua after dismissing his application seeking to halt the proceedings pending determination of an appeal challenging the impanelment of a bench handling his impeachment case by the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu. In their ruling, the Justices Eric Ogola, Anthony Mrima and Frida Mugambi said that the application was camouflaged, an application for stay, or rather the application was a camouflaged application for stay, which they dismissed last year. Gachagua had sought a 21-day extension. Let's have a look at what Apollo Kamau has prepared for us.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's push to delay the 3-judge bench of the High Court from proceeding with his impeachment case, pending the conclusion of his case at the Court of Appeal, challenging the empanelment of the 3-judge bench by Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, suffered a setback ahead of Monday next week, when the judges are set to fix a hearing date.
This prayer is a camouflage application for stay of proceedings which this court had and dismissed.
Gachagua's team of lawyers had pleaded with the court, to allow the Court of Appeal to conclude the hearing of his case, terming the constitution of the bench as a matter of public interest, despite the need for the case to be speedily concluded.
The issue, if determined in our favor, will have far-reaching effects in the manner in which this court may or may not proceed in the future.
The two houses of Parliament and the Attorney General opposed the application, arguing that the petitions were filed under a certificate of urgency and that public interest demands a speedy conclusion.
We cannot politicize a judicial process. We cannot come to court for purposes of adjournment every time.
In their ruling, the judges further said they are willing to suspend the hearings should they be served with an order from the Court of Appeal.
That at any point in the proceedings, should we be served with an order for stay of proceedings, we will at that point down our tools.
Gachagwa's impeachment case was adjourned in November last year to allow Gachagua to appeal the empowerment of the bench by Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, arguing the DCJ lacked the legal capacity to do so in a matter reserved for Chief Justice Martha Koome. Apul Kamau, TV47.
The late businessman Tobe Cohen's widow, Sarah Wairimu, has this evening been arrested at her Kilimani home in Nairobi by DCI officers. According to the detectives, there is now fresh evidence linking Wairimu to the murder that happened on July of 2019. This follows a green light given by the the Director of Public Prosecutions, Renson Ingonga. The arrest may see Wairimu appear before the courts on Friday, together with her co-accused Peter Karanja. In other news, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, has opened an investigation into allegations of conflict of interest and embezzlement against Rongo Member of Parliament Paul Abur. The MP is accused of registering a private company and awarding it tenders worth 122 million shillings for constructing classrooms and drilling boreholes. Abur, who appeared before the EACC, has denied the claims. Mike Kagongo has the story.
Thursday morning in Rongo constituency at area legislator Paul Abur's official residence, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC officers conducted an investigative operation that targeted the embattled MP. Hours later, the officers conducted another raid at the constituency's CDF offices, suspected to be the center stage of National Government Constituency Development Fund's Embezzlement Center. According to the EACC detectives, Abur is accused of awarding tenders worth 122 million shillings to companies associated with him during the financial year of 2017-2018 to 2024-2025. In a statement, EACC CEO Abdi Mohamud said preliminary investigations established that the suspect, together with one Christopher Nelson, Abur registered a private company named Aztec Infrastructure Kenya Limited as directors. Using this company, the suspect is alleged to trade with Rongo constituency and GCDF through the construction of classrooms and drilling of boreholes, and has so far received 122 million shillings. He is the sole signatory to the company bank account. EACC also noted that through his personal assistant, the MP registered another company by the name Jebset Holdings Limited, which his PA has used to get paid 19.6 million shillings by Rongo constituency and GCDF. The personal assistant is the sole director and signatory to the company bank account. EACC CEO Abdi Mohamud said the embezzlement is perpetrated largely through conflict of interests, multi-million payments for services not rendered, and payroll fraud involving ghost workers. The MP, however, refuted all allegations made against him, highlighting how his companies have never been associated with NGCDF in matters business.
I'm denying the allegations to the extent that I've traded with CDF.
I'm not a fool. I've never stayed with CDF. When I came here, I took time because I was volunteering information to them. The kind of information I gave them, and I'm sure they're surprised, in the whole of Migori County, and probably the whole of South Nyanza, I think I'm the one among the people who own a rig, if not a rig means. An equipment that drills water. I have a monopoly of drilling water, not only in Rongo, but in Migori County.
Mohamud has urged state officers to desist from abusing their positions of trust and authority to the detriment of the very citizens they were elected or appointed to serve. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
The Ministry of Health has launched a targeted vaccination campaign to protect high-risk groups against Mpox. Those prioritized include truck drivers, healthcare workers, and individuals with close contact with confirmed cases. The ministry has also urged media outlets to counter misinformation and educate the public on this. Elizabeth Atieno brings us the details.
117,663 people in the world have been confirmed to have contracted Mpox. An additional 263 people have succumbed to the virus. Since the first case was reported in July 2024, Kenya has confirmed 36 cases, with the highest numbers reported in Nakuru, Mombasa, and Busia. And now, the Ministry of Health is ramping up efforts to tackle the Mpox outbreak and address the potential risk of Marburg virus disease.
We are also training various counties that have had cases. We are supplying the personal protective equipment and other consumables to support, as well as medications to manage the cases.
The Ministry of Health, through Public Health Principal Secretary Mary Muthoni, has announced the launch of a targeted vaccination campaign aimed at high-risk groups, including truck drivers, healthcare workers, commercial sex workers, and individuals who have had close contact with confirmed cases. In 2024, over 3.6 million doses of vaccines were pledged for the Mpox response. This include 620,000 doses of MVA-BN vaccine pledged to countries by the European Commission. Japan pledged 3 million doses of the LC16 vaccine, the largest number of doses pledged so far.
To further strengthen the ongoing prevention measures, the ministry is set to roll out the Mpox vaccination targeting high-risk groups.
Additionally, public awareness campaigns are also being launched to counter misinformation and provide the public with accurate information on the Mpox vaccines.
The media plays a critical role in the key intervention, and we therefore request that you provide accurate factual information to also curb Mpox vaccination infodemics.
In light of the Marburg threat posed by the outbreak in Tanzania's Kagera region, Kenya has heightened surveillance at border points. The Ministry of Health is working closely with the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, CDC, to ensure a swift and coordinated response to both Mpox and Marburg.
In Kenya, our efforts have been focused on prevention, containment, and raising awareness to protect the health and well-being of all Kenyans.
We need to continue as a country to keep high alert.
We are extremely proud of our collaboration, and I'm also very happy to announce that we just received some additional funding from the United States government to channel towards responding to Mpox and Marburg.
The media has been urged to verify information, cross-check the credibility of sources, partner with health authorities and technical experts to provide factual, up-to-date information on the emerging public health emergencies. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, we want to take a short break. When we come back, we will have more for you. So please don't go away, take a breather, and come right back with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome back. If you're joining us right now, this is TV47 Daily Report with me, Victor Muyakane, and Catherine Simaloy on sign language. Now, Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has heightened activities at his official residence in Karen. While Kindiki once in a while meets delegations from Mount Kenya region, his predecessor, Rigathi Gachagua, has made his Wamunyoro home a beehive of activity, with delegations of politicians coming in and out. And as Elizabeth Mutuku now reports, the two seem to be battling to control the mountain. Let's take a look.
Mimi nimetumwa kazi. Si namna hiyo.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has hit the ground running, with his official current residence becoming the new home of strategic political meetings.
Mkono wale wanasema.
On Thursday, Kindiki met a host of delegations from elected leaders and more so from former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's backyard. The meetings focusing on development projects in the region as well as political realignments. Among his meetings on Thursday was one with a section of members of parliament from Murang'a County. Notably was Kangema Member of Parliament Peter Kihungi, an ally of Gachagua.
Contrary opinion say nay, the eyes have it.
Sources close to the Member of Parliament say that Kihungi decided to make a move for fear of being segregated from development projects in his area.
No function. My function is to assist and support the President as the vision carrier of our country. Sinamna hiyo.
While Kindiki was busy in Karen, his predecessor Rigathi Gachagua was equally busy in his Wamunyoro home, meeting delegation from various counties in continued quest to consolidate the mountain behind him. Notable delegations this week was from Murang'a County by members of County Assembly on Wednesday. The MCS were led by the county executive in charge of youth affairs, Noah Gachucha, who is the Governor Irungu Kang'ata's blue eye in his executive. The meeting has raised questions to whether the county boss was behind it despite not attending.
Binafsi hawana nafasi katika Kenya hii, ndio mliona wale walikuwa wanajaribu hiyo biashara walitembea wakitembea. Ama namna gani? Tunaelewana? Sasa wanajaribu kutupatia lecture huko msituni. Wewe ambaye some incompetent people who were removed because of incompetence and because of corruption and because of theft and because of ethnicity and negative personal things. You want to give us lectures on how Kenya should go where? Hakuna nafasi ya watu kama hawa, ama mnasemaje watu wa Busia?
Kindiki would later meet a group of elected leaders from the Mount Kenya region led by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah. A host of Nairobi leaders also met Kindiki today. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, over to some theatrical news, and the Kenya Theatre Awards has revealed the nominees for the 2024 theatrical year, following a review of over 170 productions from across the country. A panel of 5 jurors narrowed the contenders to 36 categories. Public voting, which began on January 23rd, will continue until February the 13th, ahead of the awards ceremony scheduled for February the 20th. This year's event showcases the incredible growth and diversity in Kenyan theatre.
We also have the World Impact Award, where we celebrate an individual or an organization who has been instrumental in promoting the Kenyan theatre scene on the international stage. And finally, we have the Ushirika Award, where we recognize and award individuals, again, or corporations who have been instrumental in supporting the arts, and it's not necessarily their mandate. So the Kenya Theatre Awards basically is here to celebrate outstanding productions from individual performers, from companies, and to collect data as well that is going to help in policy formulation, going to help in development of this sector.
Probably the only problem is the female representation was lacking, and we encourage females to take up writing and, also to tell the same stories, from the female point of view.
The numbers that are coming into the theaters also increase. With increased numbers, definitely we are talking about increased earnings. And that helps us look at an industry that is moving towards self-sustaining.
Now, public schools in the country stand to reap richly in alternative sources of fuel if adoption of the technology and innovations in recyclable lavatory waste would be put to maximal utility, and therefore averting unnecessary costs for the longest time. In this week's edition of our environmental coverage, our reporter Dennis Njiru covers a successful project in Nyandarua County.
Mahinda Secondary School in Nyandarua County. Like many schools in Kenya, it has been facing challenges in accessing reliable and affordable energy sources. The school has been using traditional methods of energy generation, which often compromises environmental conservation.
Advantage ile wamepata ni kwamba mbeleni walikuwa wanatumia pit latrine. Kabla tulete biolatrine, walikuwa na hasara sana kwa sababu ya exhausting na pia smelling. Ungeingia kwa shule ukose harufu.
Kitu chenye kinatukadhirisha sana katika environment ya shule ni wanafunzi kuwa lazima watoe sweta ili waingie kwa choo. Wavulana unaona anatoa sweta, anatoa shati, anaenda na t-shirt kwa sababu ya uvundo. Lakini kwa hii shule sasa tumeondokea hiyo uvundo.
With Nyandarua County vastly a water retention area, the significant role played by the latrines in environmental protection and proper sanitation is always compromised. Apart from being a high-cost affair, students have been forced to endure the foul smell emanating from the toilets they use every day.
Mchanga hapa Nyandarua ni nyepesi, ni black cotton. Kila mara tunajenga choo zinakuwa condemned na hata wanafunzi hawafurahii zile choo. Pia ni motivation kwa wanafunzi wanapokuwa katika zile choo wanatumia ziko mzuri.
This is very good technology. Before we started this, we had toilets. The water table here is very high. So the toilets used to fill every time. We exhaust, they were dirty. But then we got these biolatrines. The runners come in, and they use the clean toilets. The toilets have very little expenditure on maintenance. And the toilets are also very beneficial to us. Apart from the hygiene, we're also getting gas. We have cut cost on so many things like firewood.
But this is likely to change. A project funded by the NGCDF is providing a long-term answer to the frequent need for exhaust services.
The water table is very high in this area. Therefore, after very little rain, all the toilets got filled up. They got messy in the morning. The children may be trained in the evening. In the morning, the toilets are full, even overflowing, with a lot of worms, maggots.
The biodigester project is promising to produce a reliable clean energy for the school, since the student population can provide the necessary raw materials.
Biodigest toilet ambayo tunatarajia isaidie hii shule kwa mambo ya stima, mambo ya gas, ili tuweze kutengeneza mazingira yetu bila kukata miti, na pia mambo ya kuni. Tunajua hata wapishi mara nyingi ni wazee, wanapata ile moshi, wanakuwa wagonjwa.
In the kitchen, every time I used to use 3 lorry loads of firewood. That costed me around 90,000. Now, I'm only using 1 lorry load, costing around 30,000. And by then, we are getting a lot of problem in getting the firewood.
Countries across the world are grappling with how to address climate change effects, making it more urgent to mobilize actions aimed at mitigating the impact through such community initiatives.
Yeah, so that the use of so much firewood is not in line with the government policy today. to attain the 50 billion. If we are still using that much firewood, we would be destroying the trees and not getting the target of the 50 billion trees.
Advantage ya biogas ni kwamba environment inakuwa safi, pia inasaidia shule kutotumia kuni, kwa sababu saizi government ina policy ya kupanda mamiti. Na tumeambiwa ya kwamba ikifika 2030 tuwe tumepanda miti bilioni 15. Na kama tunaendelea kupika na kuni, inamaanisha tutakuwa tunapunguza ile kuni.
Last year, the government launched an initiative envisioning a future where schools will no longer be using firewood or charcoal for cooking.
I was using 168, roughly there, 168 to 180,000 per year to maintain the toilets, to exhaust. One day, we exhausted the toilets in the morning. Then afternoon, it rained, they filled again. So the total amount of money that we had paid, 58,000, went to waste. So now that money is not going to waste.
Wow!
For TV47, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Yes.
All right, how about time for some business news now? Let's get to understand what's happening in the markets. Now, the government is ramping up efforts to streamline and stabilize fiscal policies ahead of the highly anticipated Global World Chamber Federation Forum. The event is designed to attract increased foreign direct investment into the country. Principal Secretary for Investment Promotion, Abubakar Hassan, has emphasized that preparations are underway to ensure that the country appeals to international investors, with the introduction of the ETA travel exemptions as a major incentive. However, as Hibak Said reports, Kenya's FDI levels still fall short of the $10 billion mark, despite hosting a series of high-profile international summits.
Foreign direct investments is approximately at 194 billion Kenyan shillings in 2024, a far reach from the $10 billion mark the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry has set for itself. This is according to the World Investment Report by UNCTAD, which also notes a slight drop of FDI year-on-year from 2023, mainly triggered by concerns over bureaucratic licensing processes and overlapping regulations.
The success and realization of this summit objectives, a three-tier committee has been established that include a national steering committee, the national planning committee, and the technical subcommittee, whose members are drawn from government agencies and private sectors institutions.
Despite this, Kenya has a lineup of summits and conferences meant to trigger inflow of foreign exchange, as Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Dr. Abraham Singoe confirms.
At the end of this month, His Excellency President Ruto will be undertaking a state visit to the Arab Republic of Egypt, and he will be accompanied with a huge business delegation. In mid-March, the Dutch royalty, the King and the Queen of the Netherlands, will be in Nairobi, and in their delegation will be not less than 200 members of Dutch investors and business community. Later in the year, we will be hosting a Commerce Summit, bringing together heads of states from Commerce region, but most fundamentally, business leaders from across the continent. Additionally, towards the end of the year, you may be familiar with the news that Nairobi will play host again to the French-Africa Summit.
The main priority for the government are key value chains, earmarked for development.
We now have refocused, we have now reorganized, we have now restructured, we have now repositioned KNCCI to play its rightful play as the voice of private sector in its quest to position and turn the wheels of our country's economic fortunes.
This as the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry confirms the World Chamber Federation inaugural summit to be held in Nairobi in April, which will significantly boost business to business and business to government ties. Hibak Said for TV47.
Now, artificial intelligence-enabled devices are increasingly gaining traction in the country. With the youth embracing digital tools in the face of rising unemployment, Anthony Hutia, head of mobile experience at Samsung, says that context-aware devices are revolutionizing the user interactions, enabling seamless transitions between applications and software programs. And of course, Kenyan mobile users are now favoring customizable gadgets over traditional mass-produced devices, reflecting a growing shift towards personalized technology.
The bigger part is when AI came in, and a lot of people are consuming AI in different ways, is that it's one size fits all. How do you get to points whereby you consider each and every person or what they want, what they need to do with that particular functionality? So as a phone, we've gotten to levels whereby not only doing it at a global level, we are looking at a regional level where we can give people and consumer exactly what you want. Probably I want to search for a restaurant. We are getting to points whereby you search for that restaurant, it gives you even the location and tells you it can book for you an appointment, okay? Being able to go to the extra mile and having an assistant that can be able to do that for
you. Sports news brought to you by Maybet.
Time now for some sports. And please stay tuned because right after this, the weekly turbocharged, supercharged sporting action show VAR is up next. But first, Sports CS Salim Mvurya earlier today inspected the progress of the Talanta City Stadium project, which is set to become a state-of-the-art facility and a key venue for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations opening ceremony. The tournament will be co-hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. Mvurya expressed confidence that the stadium will meet its December 2025 completion deadline, marking a significant milestone in regional sports infrastructure. Additionally, he confirmed the completion of floodlight installations at Nyayo Stadium and declared it ready to host the African Nations Championship, while the Moi International Sports Centre in Kasarani is also fully prepped for the upcoming event.
This Talanta Stadium, and basically my visit here is just to reconfirm that the work is going on, and also to say that this piece of infrastructure, which is very historical and is going to be very excellent at the end, is destined for the Africa Cup of Nations. And from the briefing, from what I have seen, we are in a good schedule to achieve the completion by December this year, so that we can be ready for African Cup of Nations.
Some of us, like I can see, the young people here, they are learning and they are appreciating the President Ruto for giving us this chance, for giving us this project to learn more about Chinese culture and their skills. Especially from our Chinese partners, they are teaching us a lot. Young guys who came here, they didn't know anything, but when they are coming out of this project, they will have acquired a lot of skills.
And the Kenya Commercial Bank has invested 80 million shillings into the third edition of the East Africa Golf Tour Tournament, officially launched today at the Royal Nairobi Golf Club. The 30-leg series will feature events in 16 counties across Kenya, including Mombasa, Nairobi, Kiambu and Kakamega, as well as 4 East African countries of Rwanda, Tanzania, Burundi and Uganda. Scheduled to conclude on December 5th of this year, the event aims at nurturing talent, promoting unity and showcasing golf as a driver of social and economic development in the region.
This is the third edition of our KCB East Africa Golf Tour. And as you will agree with me, by all standards, the last 2 editions have been a very exciting kind of experience, and that they have been very critical in championing inclusivity. They have fostered regional collaboration, and they have been very critical in advancing the game of golf.
Really appreciate all the initiatives that come from all the partners across the country. But for us, when we see a company like KCB taking on a tour like this, they're helping us develop the growth of golf. There are over 16,000 registered golfers. There are over 6,000 juniors are having an opportunity which are directly being impacted on them. And as mentioned earlier, it's not only just the golfers, it's an entire ecosystem. We have the caddies, we have the business people who sustain the growth of golf in the region.
Team Kenya shone brightly on the final day of the East African Junior Tennis Championships, clinching the under-16 titles in both the boys and girls categories. The young stars also triumphed in the under-14 girls category, while the boys team had to settle for second place after a thrilling encounter with Uganda. This success comes just a week after Kenyan players secured 5 out of the 6 titles in the individual championships held at the Nairobi club, further showcasing their dominance on the home turf.
And how to play with the sun, how to cooperate. You know, most of the time, sometimes to play with the sun is too difficult. So you have to find a way and a solution.
Like, I feel so nice to represent Kenya, like 60 million people, that's so amazing. And like to step on the court and play for Kenya is really a privilege, and I'm so happy that they actually chose me and saw me. And like our support has been really good, like the team has been so good. They've been supporting.
Our development pathway, this event is part of the development pathway we have in Africa. And this event is played in East Africa, but it's also played in West Africa, Southern Africa, and North Africa. And then all these kids who are competing here, they are qualifying for the individual junior championship in May. Already Kenya will be hosting one part of the African Junior Championship in the end of February.
Sports News brought to you by Maybet.
All right, it's about that time for the weekly supercharged sporting action show, VAR. And of course, the people in charge of this particular show are ready to bring you the absolute latest in the world of sports. We've got Duncan Mutua, we call him Askofu, the bishop. He's got Kabethi Ken, who is one of the most consistent people in the sporting industry. He's, of course, a coach of the world-renowned True Talents of Africa. We've also got Faith Mora, who is a journalist specifically focusing on sports news. And of course, we've got Florence Ndongo, who is also a sports news journalist. This show is just about to begin in the next few seconds. So please grab a drink, grab a little break. In a few minutes, your weekly supercharged sporting action show, VAR, is about to begin right now. As for me, I'm Victor Muyakane, and together with Catherine Simaloy on Sign Language, we are out. Good night and God bless you.